What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So, special request. I was asked about Terrence Crawford, Spence, when they fight. If Spence wins, he's talking about going up to 154. What does that leave for the rest of the division? Good question, but let me answer it this way and pretty much address something that I addressed before. And possibilities are there, but you don't know which route different fighters are going to take. So let me say it like this. If Spence wins, does he go to 154? Pretty much he said he's not going to stay at 147 too long. Now, the fact that he has a strength and conditioning coach and he was able to make 147 and still be strong, could that change his mind? Don't know. If Terrence Crawford wins, he's already, made it known that he wants to fight Jermell Charlo. Does he go up to 154? We don't know. Does Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford go up to 154? Okay. And if so, do they fight again at 154? So these are things that we don't know. But this is what I'm going to add to that in answering, in my response with this question. Okay? Because we don't know. But Terrence Crawford is what, 33, 34? Errol Spence is 31, 32, right? You have people that are saying Ennis is not ready. Joel Ortiz is not ready. Benn is not ready. Those guys, as of now, as it stands, are the future of that division. I don't know since when you have to be 30 years old to finally be ready for a fight. But as individual fighters, you have to look at the progress that a fighter has, the steps that they've made and getting better as a fighter. It's no such thing as, everybody just gets better at the same exact time and the same exact ways. So basically, the way I see it is this. Whether they went up in weight or not, does Errol Spence want to go to 154 even though he's undisputed and let's say he beats Crawford without fighting Keith Thurman? And the same question for Terrence Crawford. Now, if you was to say, okay, now that I beat him, I'm undisputed champion. Now let me go. Let's say for Errol Spence, for example, let me go beat Keith Thurman now. If that's the case, that means Errol Spence is beating Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and Terrence Crawford. That guy's legacy is already solid. People don't even look at it for what it is. But Errol Spence, if that happens, that guy is okay. I don't care how much you like or dislike a fighter. You got to look at the accomplishments for what they are. Then, at the end of the day, if he wants to go up to 154, I mean, he's beaten everybody that he needed to beat. Should he stay there? How long does it take before a guy like Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, or Benn finally get a shot? Okay. On Terrence Crawford's side, he managed to beat Sean Porter. So if he beats Errol Spence, and his legacy is already solid as well, because, we know what he did at 140. But does he say, no, let me beat Keith Thurman first, then go to 154? Should he beat Errol Spence? Now, these are all questions we do not have the answers to. Okay, but this is what I look at right now. And I'm going to take the attention off of them a little bit to say this. Guys like Ennis, Benn, and Virgil Ortiz, I would be looking at a guy like Goe'S and saying, you know what? When that guy heals and gets better, he's going to come back against someone. Why not me? And especially for the fanboys out there that swear on their life that, oh man, Ennis isn't ready. Those guys aren't ready. Errol Spence would destroy him. Terrence Crawford would destroy him. All these guys. Okay, well, let me put something in you guys' minds to think about. When you guys say that, I mean, I've heard people say Keith Thurman would destroy both of them. They're not on his level. Well, I can tell you how that's garbage and nonsense, and you can't even believe it yourself. And if you do, you just don't know nothing about goddamn boxing, and you're basically just speaking out of favoritism. If those guys was not on Keith Thurman's level, and he thought that, well, why would Keith Thurman come back and fight Mario Barrios, who had just got knocked out by a 135-pounder that moved up to 140? If that's the case, why would he come back against a guy like that? Why wouldn't he just say, nah, I'm going to take a 147-pounder and beat him and show these guys? I'm going to take a young buck and beat him. Why? Why would he fight Mario Barrios? So it's obvious he knows that those guys, and Keith Thurman already spoke. Believe me, that guy knows that those guys are huge threats. Do you guys think Mario Barrios is a better fighter than Jaron Ennis? You think Mario Barrios would beat Jaron Ennis? You think he beat Virgil Ortiz or Conor Benn? Okay. So this is why I'm saying why I'm making this point. For all three of those guys, I would say, okay, Errol Spence just made a huge statement against Goe'S, okay, and took his belt. Any one of those guys should be targeting him and targeting Mario Barrios. For the simple fact, these guys just finished fighting former and world champions. So this way, now they're going to compare. Let's just take Jaron Ennis, for example. Okay. Everybody just saw what Goe'S did. You know, what Spence did against him. So now they're going to compare my performance to Errol Spence's performance. Well, remember how when Errol Spence beat Kell Brook, people made the excuse about, the face was, he broke the cheekbone and all that. Okay, well, Errol Spence broke the other side. And they made excuses and said that's the only reason he beat Kell Brook. Well, Errol Spence just did the same thing again to Goe'S. You understand what I'm saying? So what are they going to say now? Oh, Goe'S is finished goods. He's not the same since Errol Spence did what he did to him. Okay, and we know that hypocrisy in boxing is solid, man. It is solid. Like, people just, it's like a hard rock they just can't penetrate. Hypocrisy in life, period. But I'll give you an example of something. And, Roy Jones was that guy. Whoever Roy fights, I'm pulling for Roy to win, right? But I'm not going to make excuses for you. Roy Jones said he couldn't give Errol Spence full credit for beating Danny Garcia because Danny Garcia moved up in weight. Yet he praised the fight between Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. He praised the fight between Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia. Then he turns around and says he couldn't give Errol Spence full credit for beating Kell Brook because he was damaged goods. Same guy who's managing Chris Eubanks Jr. and after his last performance said he would love to see Chris Eubanks Jr. versus Kell Brook. It'd be a great fight for the British fans. And, these are two credible fighters. No, wait. So you can't give Errol Spence, who fights at 147, full credit for beating the guy in Kell Brook. You praise Terrence Crawford for beating him. And Crawford fought him years afterwards. You see what I'm saying? But then you think it's okay for little Kell Brook to go up to 160, 168 and fight big Chris Eubanks Jr. Why? Payday for your guy. So let's take all that nonsense and look at it for what it is. Let's push it aside and think like this. Forget all the excuses about who was hurt in the fight and what happened, who did what. Let's look at reality. If Jaron Ennis goes in there and look even nearly as good as Errol Spence did against Goe'S, people are going to talk, negative and positive, but they're going to notice. If he does even better, regardless to what they say, at some point it's going to be like, hey, you know what, man, I want to see Spence versus, Jaron Ennis. And now he just beat a guy that was a former world champion. if these guys don't want to fight Gerard Ennis and Virgil Ortiz and Conor Benn, then they have to fight someone. So now you guys are saying, oh, they got to fight each other to eliminate each other, and then what? Then what? Now all of a sudden, guys that we don't even know is coming out the woodwork trying to get title shots now. These guys are the future of. They're in those building stages to where each one of these guys are going to be rivals to each other. You guys are losing sight on how you build a star, man. And when someone doesn't want to fight you, and people are saying that you're not ready, well, you got to get your start somewhere. And beating a guy like Goe'S, that to me will be a huge step for either one of those guys. Beating a Mario Barrios, because they're going to compare that performance versus Keith Thurman's performance. And at the end of the day, you're gonna, if they go and fight these guys, and especially if they really beat them soundly, then at some point people are gonna start saying they want to see these guys versus a Crawford or versus a Spence. And at the end of the day, and a Keith Thurman. So if you guys are looking at boxing and looking at fairness and not looking through the lens of fanboyism, you'd understand clearly these fighters are trying to get the fights, and people are, I don't know, this generation is just different. They're like against top fighters fighting each other. It's like, no, you got to be 35 years old first. Like you're just a baby at 25. I'm not understanding this mindset. I think Gerard Ennis, I don't give a shit what Tim Bradley says or some other fanboy of Terrence Crawford says. I think Gerard Ennis, whether he beats Spence or Crawford or whether he loses, I think he gives both of those fighters hell. I think he's better than Virgil Ortiz and Conor Benn. Overall, I think he's more skillful than those two, but those three are, as of now, the future of that division. And I think that out of all three, he has the better chance of beating these guys. And I think, honestly, that he's sharp enough to beat. I think he can go in there and match these guys. The point is, we want to see. What you're going to wait until, Terrence Crawford's 37-38, then he fights and loses and go, oh, he wouldn't have beat him when he was in his prime. Okay? What, you're going to wait for Spence to get older? And then, oh, he wouldn't have beat Spence in his... This is the type of nonsense that happens. So if you're going to fight these guys, while you guys are still in your prime years and still able to fight on the same level, give these guys their shot. How is Mario Barrios a good pick for Keith Thurman, but these guys are not good picks for Terrence Crawford? A guy like Gerard Ennis or Virgil Ortiz, they're not good picks for them. How is that? Oh, but Keith Thurman didn't have a belt. Okay, but Keith Thurman is a former champion that's coming back, fought a guy that just came off of a loss, and then all of a sudden he wants to be in the title picture without beating someone. That should be there in the title. What was, I don't, look, this was Mario Barrios' first fight at 147. So basically, he lost to Gervonta Tank Davis. He wasn't weight drained or anything. He just got knocked out by a 135-pounder, and then went the distance with Keith Thurman. Honestly, I think Gerard Ennis beats Keith Thurman. I think he has the skills to beat all of them. Terrence Crawford, in terms of Terrence Crawford's thinking ability and his he may go the distance. That fight might go the distance. It might not. Who knows? But all of this stuff about him getting knocked out and not being on we don't need you to tell us what they can and can't do. Let's make the fights happen. Let's see these fights. Because if these guys are going to go and fight, like I said about Jamal Charlo, Jamal Charlo, he made the comment that it's no value in fighting Demetrius Andrade, but he's getting ready to fight a guy that Demetrius Andrade already beat. So you can't sit here and tell me, I believe Gerard Ennis destroys Goe'S. Listen, I watched that guy fight. I'm impressed with what I see because it's not just flash and flare. That guy has skill. But he gets hit. Well, so does Errol Spence. So does Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford's been dropped before. They all get hit. So when you look at these guys and you start talking off of your feeling, your emotion, you're not looking at things logically. You're looking at it from the standpoint of, well, this guy did this, he did this, I don't care who you beat. My attitude has always been, I don't care who you beat until you beat me. You understand what I'm saying? You're not saying anything. I don't care about those other guys. I'll beat them too, and then I'll beat you. Now you come and beat me. That's the mentality that a real fighter has. Jaron Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, Conor Benn have faced some kind of criticism at some point. And looking at Conor Benn, he just destroyed a guy that people thought was going to be a tough fight for him. And, I put a picture up and I put a quote up there saying, this guy is ready to step up. There's no reason not to. And I mean that. They're all not going to be lined up next for title shots, but they're going to scratch and claw and get their way up there. And the problem is, when you are avoided, Errol Spence knows all about that. He was once the most avoided guy at 147. Terrence Crawford came up there, he was avoided. So don't turn around and then do the same thing to these guys and then start complaining about the politics in boxing, because that's what you're using. You're using your politic card that kicks. Oh, he hasn't done anything yet. Okay, so this is why I'm saying, for a guy like Jaron Ennis, go out there, Virgil Ortiz, Conor Benn, try to get fights with Mario Barrios. Try to get fights with Goe'S. Try to get these guys. And it doesn't matter if they're going to say, oh, these guys are coming off losses. So what? Look at who they came off a loss against. And you're going to compare. No different from, let me show you how fake people are. Isaac Cruz just beat Gamboa. All I saw in the comments? Yo, Gamboa, man. Isaac Cruz is a pit bull for real. Yo, that dude is vicious. Yo, he ain't no joke. Yo, he'll give anybody problems. Blase, blase, blah. But then they criticized Tank Davis for fighting Gamboa. They criticized Devin Haney for fighting Gamboa. And even though Haney didn't knock him out, he completely outclassed him and made him look like he did what he does. Tank Davis, oh man, he couldn't knock him out, everything. So basically, let's just say, for example, if Tank Davis didn't fight Gamboa, let's just put it like this. If Tank Davis didn't fight Isaac Cruz, you know what people would be saying based off the performance? Out of their favoritism? Oh, that dude, Isaac Cruz, he'll beat Tank Davis. And here, Tank Davis is in a fight where he showed he can box. He can move. He can do it all if he needs to. So we need these guys to get in there and fight, man, and stop all of this making up excuses as to why a guy shouldn't fight. I'm all about that action. I'm all about that smoke. I'm not all about you guys sitting up telling me he shouldn't fight, because I don't think Rolly Romero is good enough to beat Tank Davis. I think he has a puncher's chance to beat Tank Davis. That's what I think. I don't think he's just skillful enough to beat him. If he beats him, it's going to be because he has to catch him and just get him out of there, in my opinion. So listening to all these conversations and reading comments that people make, when you're addressing situations, sometimes you have to address what the fanboys are saying, because it's a mindset that people have, and they're making it as if this is just law. This is how things go. I think that Tank Davis versus Mario Barrios was a good fight, and people didn't give him his credit. But then they go and give Keith Thurman all the credit in the world. Oh, well, he's just coming back, and so what? So what? You guys didn't give Errol Spence that same credit for coming back after a horrific car accident and beating Danny Garcia. You guys didn't give him that same credit after he destroyed Goe'S after coming back after a serious eye injury. You understand? So, let's be real. Ray Leonard had a detached retina, and he came back, test the waters, see how he could do. And Ray Leonard retired several times because he was doubting himself, saying that he didn't feel like he was the same guy, and retired, come back, retire, come back. Errol Spencer's not doing that, and he doesn't come back and get tune-ups. He come back and fight who's there in the top. So, that's what I see, and that's what I think. And what I understand as far as, the way the politics of boxing go, nothing is guaranteed until that, that you sign that dotted line and everything's signed, sealed, and delivered. And fight night, everybody shows up. Otherwise, it's always something that just may go wrong that the fight doesn't happen. So, Yeah, people, that's the way I see it, and that was a good question, and I wanted to address that question because yes, think about this: Sean Porter's gone, Danny Garcia's no longer at 147, Pacquiao's gone. So aside from Keith Thurman still being there, along with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, who's left? So you guys got to understand that top 5 situation doesn't last forever. So along with those 3, guess what? You have Virgil Ortiz, you have Conor Benn, and you have Ennis in there, and whoever else is up there. But you got those guys there. Stop denying these guys their shots. You fanboy, oh, they don't deserve it. They didn't do anything. Okay then. Well, somebody has to want to fight them. That's what we need. Fresh blood. And we need for these guys to be more strategic with who they fight. You know, honestly, guys like them, when they're not that popular but they're dangerous, they're considered high risk, low reward. That's what they're considered. You know, you heard, Jamal Charlo talking on Mike Tyson's show, and he said, I'm still young. Well, I mean, 31, so I ain't got that long left. Remember, these guys, I remember Muhammad Ali, when he was getting ready to fight George Foreman, he was saying, Muhammad Ali, seeing if he can get this 32-year-old body back in shape. He was only 32. They were talking like he was damn 6, like he was 72. A lot of times, like I said, there's a certain mindset that people have. You go to a gym and you see somebody 90 years old, not walking on the treadmill, but jogging on it, hitting the weights hard, and it's like, this guy is 90, she's 90. It's a mindset. You could take someone 70, put them next to that person 90, they look older than that person that's 90. That person that's 90, forget that they're 90. Like, 90 is nothing but 9 backwards. The zero's in front of the 9. It's like, I'm going to keep going until I can't go anymore. So, it's a mindset, man. We got to get rid of this mindset of thinking a fighter has to be 30 before he finally gets a shot, before he's finally ready. And I don't know if, Deontay Wilder won his title. He was 30, and I remember he was 30 years old. I remember him winning his title, and I remember, his man promoter tell him he's not going to put him in with the likes of Klitschko. He's just a baby. Man was all at 30. We understand that he got a late start in boxing. I get that. But at the end, he didn't have such a long career. We get that. Amateur career was short. But at the same time, you're now holding the title. When Anthony Joshua won the title, everybody was, oh man, but nah, he got to keep going forward. He can't go backwards in competition, and he didn't. He kept going forward. They didn't make those same excuses for Deontay though, and they also didn't make those same excuses for Dillian White, because Dillian White didn't have a long career either. A long amateur career, and Dillian White beat AJ in the amateurs, right? So it's what I'm talking about. You guys, you keep mixing up stories and trying to make this situation work this way because that situation worked that way, when one has nothing to do with the other. We are all about that smoke. So yes, that's what I see, that's what I believe, and as far as what everybody's going to do, we don't know. But I would be targeting these guys that just got out of a fight with an elite level fighter. That way, like I said, people are going to pay attention to my performance, and they're going to want to see what I can do against them. That way, now it becomes a demand for people to see you. That's how it has to go. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.